The one mandate is a developmental mandate, and in SAA side is to make sure that it boosts the tourism prospects of our country, and tourism is a big sector of our economy that is creating a lot of jobs. And from a tourism point of view, South Africa keeps on seeing more and more tourists coming here. So we need to leverage the position of SAA to boost our tourism sector. And that may look like a difficult task, but that's exactly what we are involved in. And the other one, which is an important mandate, is that they must become profitable. So you have a clash of these two mandate requirements, developmental as well as profitability. And it's a very tricky task to balance the two. But because they are state-owned, we expect them to balance both of them, to be both developmental and also to become profitable. And I can assure you that the efforts that we're putting in place are meant to achieve precisely both. And we are sure that we will get SAA into profitability going forward if we do all the things that the IMC is focusing on. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy President. The Honourable Faber.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Good to see you in the House, Mr. Deputy President. I just wanted to know, are there any penalties and fees to be expected from the loans maturing on the 30th of September 2017?
Deputy President.
As the loan industry works, there are always things like interest as well as penalties that one needs to face up to and to negotiate. You have to negotiate your way around that. And once the covenants have not been properly met, you can expect that there could well be. In this case, I do not have the specific details of the type of penalties that could be part of this whole process, but that obviously is dealt with by the financial people as they crunch the numbers and look more closely at the impact of the loans, because some of the loans have different maturity dates. And you've mentioned one, there could have been sub-loans or subordinated loans that could have slightly different maturity dates as well. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy President. The last supplementary goes to the Honourable Shabangu.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy President, under no condition or circumstances must government stake at Telkom be sold. Telkom is an example of what can be achieved with SOEs if the people appointed are not corrupt and competent. Telkom is profitable.
Honourable Shabangu, are you on SAA or on Telkom?
Yes. That is SOEs. That is what we expect from SOEs. When the cabinet reappointed Ms. Dudu Nyeni, a chairperson of South SSA board, in August last year, it was for a year. The fact that she's still the chair of SAA has proven to be illegal. Given that cabinet was not consulted, who appointed her? What will be the repercussions for illegal appointment? What measures will you take, Deputy President, and what measures should be taken to ensure that her appointment is immediately terminated? Thank you.
Deputy President.
Thank you, Chairperson. I did address this matter earlier and said that in the end, Cabinet deals with these matters. And so Cabinet will address this matter as it always addresses matters of appointments of board members to state-owned enterprises. So this is one of those that Cabinet will have to apply its mind to. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy President. Before we proceed, I just want to honorable members, to tell you that we are very honored today. We have 3 schools from around Cape Town, the Dominican School for the Deaf from Wynberg is here. We also have the Delabat School van die Dowes from Worcester. We also have Nolutando School from the Deaf from Khayelitsha. You're welcome, my children. We must also say that we are very happy, Deputy President, that Dr. Vauda, Honorable Vauda, is back. He is looking very well. Deputy President, we proceed to our 3rd question. It is a question posed to the Deputy President by the Honorable Khai.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable members, in February of this year, the NEDLEC social partners reached agreement on the introduction of the national minimum wage, which was set and agreed to by the partners at 20 Rand an hour. And this should commence on the 1st of May in 2018. Yesterday, the partners at NEDLEC met and finalized all the outstanding issues, which will be paving the way for the bill to be brought to Parliament for processing so that the workers of our country are then able to benefit and partake in the commencement of the national minimum wage on the 1st of May. A code, another area of agreement was a code of good practice and an accord on collective bargaining and industrial action in which all social partners in NEDLEC committed to take all steps necessary to prevent violence, intimidation, and damage to property during industrial action. The accord also seeks to improve the capacity of the social partners and other agencies to enable them to resolve disputes peacefully and quickly. They also agreed on amendments to the Labour Relations Act, which amendments will be tabled before Parliament, that aim to further strengthen collective bargaining and dispute resolution. These agreements have paved the way for the tabling to Parliament of the Labour Relations Act, so it will be coming. The introduction of a national minimum wage is intended to significantly improve the lives of the lowest paid workers in our country. This is an important intervention aimed at reducing wage poverty in our country. Having received the latest poverty statistics, which were worrying 2 weeks ago, this intervention, Madam Chair, is going to definitely help many, many people a great deal. Well over 6 million workers will see their wages increase to a minimum of 20 Rand an hour, hopefully, en route to a living wage, which is still the objective that all partners have set themselves. Combined with strong collective bargaining and agreement on annual adjustments, we are confident that workers in our country will have their dignity restored. On the broader question of unemployment and poverty, government is intensifying the implementation of a number of interventions. And we've put out a number of plans, and one of those, which is the 9-point plan, which is a major intervention by government, seeks to unlock the job creation potential of cooperatives, small and medium enterprises, revitalize rural and township enterprises, and to re-energize long-standing and greenfield sectors like the oceans economy. Our interventions in the oceans economy have unlocked, Madam Chair, significant investments that will create jobs. This initiative has attracted quite a lot of investment from the private sector. The Department of Trade and Industry is currently providing incentive support to the tune of almost R500 million for investment in ports, marine, manufacturing, and aquaculture. And working together with the private sector, we are finalizing plans for the employment in internships as well as in learnerships of up to 1 million young people, which should commence on a test pilot basis later this year. All these actions constitute a basket of interventions to reduce unemployment, to reduce poverty and inequality. And we're hoping that we should be able, as we have now come out of technical recession, to see further growth in our economy, and this will be greatly enhanced by the deepening of social dialogue amongst all the partners, business, labor, community, and government. We believe that we are well on our way to move South Africa forward. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. The Honourable Khai.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson and Deputy President, for the comprehensive response. But recently, recent figures by the State South Africa indicate that many people, particularly in rural areas, female-headed households, are living under poverty. Government has announced many tools to accelerate growth, create jobs, eliminate poverty and inequality. Recently, Honourable Deputy President, the Minister of Finance announced another package of the 14-point plan to jumpstart our economy with the aim to attract investment, both domestic and foreign, and create employment, reduce poverty, eliminate inequality. Can the Honourable Deputy President give assurance that the government will be able to accelerate implementation of all policy tools and shift the economy to a higher gear? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Deputy President.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Yes, I can confirm that the government is now more directly focused on implementation. We've put out quite a number of plans. The 14-point plan, the 9-point plan, and also in mining, the 10-point plan. We have put out a number of initiatives. And in many ways, one could say, isn't there a weakness in all that? There is no weakness in that. Each of the points of the plans that we have are focusing on specific areas. For instance, the 9-point plan. One of the areas it focused on was to stabilize the energy supply and generation in our country. That has been done, so we can tick that. And we also focus on agro-processing. And agro-processing is an important sector, or agriculture is an important sector in our economy. And we saw the delivery of agriculture in the growth that we just had in the last quarter. 2.5%, and agriculture contributed quite significantly in that. It shows that our focus on agriculture, agro-processing is beginning to bear fruit. We also focus on beneficiation, which is part of mining, and we saw how mining also increased productivity even under difficult circumstances, and that productivity had a contribution also from what the 9-point plan seeks to focus on. But the other important thing was, in our 9-point plan, we said we would want to boost investment in our country, and having focus on that, we've seen more and more investments coming through. So this is an illustration to say that as we announce these various plans, they should never be seen as just talk from government. These are meaningful initiatives that are meant to focus on specific areas that are able to move the needle and to move our economy forward. What is pleasing with what government is focusing on is that it identifies a problem, and having done so, it comes up with a response. And the response quite often is an initiative or an intervention which is aimed at making sure that we get results. Are we getting results from all these interventions? My answer is yes. And in some cases, it will be slow. In the ocean economy, for instance, we are already beginning to see investment coming in. Having identified the ocean economy as an area that we need to focus on, to unlock new economic opportunities. So that is a sector where there is growth. We also decided that we are also going to focus on promoting radical economic transformation by creating black industrialists. Are we creating black industrialists? Thus far, we've identified 46, and that has brought in billions of investment from the private sector with initial contribution from the state. Small and medium enterprises, we're also doing a lot there. So the plethora of plans should never be seen as a weakness. It should be seen as a strength and should be seen as a process through which the South African government is responding to the current economic slump. So we are trying to do everything to move our economy forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. The Honorable Koni.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Today you are wearing a very progressive color, red. Thank you very much, Deputy President. If my memory serves me well, you would agree with me that it has been a year since the National Minimum Wage panel reported its recommendations to you. So the babereki ba santse ba eme ba tlhomme matlo, Deputy President. You announced the recommendations of the advisory panel and advised that the national minimum wage would be 3,500, and the EFF rejected that. So because it has been a year, I want to ask you if the amount still remains the same, or because it has been a long time, or at least it's going to be 4,500 like the EFF would want it to be, or more than that. Thank you.
Deputy President.
Honorable Madam Chair, Honorable Koni, you'll be pleased to know that once we had crafted this agreement, and crafting it as a 20 Rand per hour was quite an inspired move, in that if you calculate the 20 Rand an hour, which is what workers do, workers focus on what they get paid an hour. And as they work, some work 8 hours, some work 9 hours. And as a number of them work, they do their own calculations, and we found that in the main, the bulk of the workers would be getting around 3,900. Now, obviously, with overtime and so on, that'll be slightly more. Now, the one other important thing that the social partners agreed on is that there should be no erosion of the value of the minimum wage that they are going to earn when it is implemented. Now, when it is implemented, yes, you're right, it's going to be that 20 Rand an hour, but embedded in our agreement is the ability to have a commission which is going to be set up, which is going to look at the efficacy of that amount, which is going to look at when and how it should be increased, taking into account a range of factors. Now, the good thing about this is that it is the social partners themselves who reached this agreement. It's not an imposed one. Business, labor, communities, and government bought into this, and this arrangement has now settled in the minds of many people in our country and is now being seen as a great opportunity. And in some cases, working people see it as a historic moment in the life of our country, that we now have a chance to lift some 6 million people, many of whom are earning way below that 3,500. And there are some people, Honorable Koni, who are still earning less than 1,000 Rand a month in our country. There are some people who are still earning 500 Rand a month in our country. So this momentous agreement is now going to lift 6 million people, as the panel calculated, 6.6 million people who are earning less than 3,500 will be lifted to the level of 20 Rand an hour. And this is going to be a great boost, we believe, to their own lives. And it's also going to be a great boost for South Africa to begin acceding towards a living wage. And many unions say this is a good beginning. And I think we should embrace it and applaud it as such, that it is a start. It is not the end. We now have a baseline from which we can give our people a decent living. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Deputy President. The Honorable Makue.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. To the Deputy President, we appreciate particularly the answer that you've given before, which relate to the minimum wage and also what is in the original question called low wages. Our responsibility as legislators is to pass the law, but what we find is that in this instance, we may have many of the employers that find very creative ways of ensuring that they do not adhere to the legislation. And my question is particularly related to two sectors in the productive economy, which is domestic workers and farm workers. Can you tell us, Deputy President, what practical suggestions or what practical steps are considered to ensure that domestic workers and farm workers will benefit from this legislation?
Thank you, sir. Deputy President.
Honorable Chairperson, we did, as we crafted this agreement, all of us as social partners realized that there were going to be two sectors that are going to face great difficulties. The one is the personal one, which is like domestic work, and the other one is going to be farm work. We've known historically that domestic workers in our country are paid the lowest wages. That we have known historically. And that continues and that persists. And domestic workers are also very difficult to organize because they work in our homes as individuals, hidden in our kitchens, in our homes, and with no one ever knowing what they earn. Now, domestic workers in our country will now know, and let me say there has been a wage determination which has helped them a great deal. But notwithstanding that, we've also found that a number of employers have not been living up to the wage determination. But right now, with the minimum wage gaining traction, gaining popularity, we're hoping that individuals who employ domestic workers will be able to bring their level of wages up. Now, the same applies to farm workers. We have established tiers and given people who employ domestic workers time to live up to the final minimum wage. And we've said, yes, domestic workers, as I recall, would be paid at the level of, I think, 70% of the minimum wage for a set period of 2 years, and thereafter they should then accede to the higher level. So employers in domestic work are given an opportunity, time enough to prepare themselves to know that they will have to start paying the national minimum wage. And the same would happen with farm workers, which is at a higher level. Farm employers, rather, will need to pay slightly lower than the actual minimum wage for a set period, and thereafter they have to pay the national minimum wage. Now, one of the things that we've also agreed is that those employers who are not able to pay the national minimum wage can come and apply for an exemption. And this addresses itself to why didn't we set the minimum wage at a high level? We could have set the minimum wage at 10,000 Rand. And if we had, many people would have lost their jobs, that's for sure. At 3,500 rand, some employers are saying, or 20 rand an hour rather, some employers are saying that it's going to be difficult for them. And we have said every employer who will find it difficult must come forward and apply for an exemption. The exemption process will go into examining the difficulties that they have, and it will be set for a specific period. Thereafter, they will have to come back again. This is to ensure that there is no mass loss process in our country, that many of our people don't lose jobs, and that the Department of Labor will get involved in the process of giving exemptions. But that is also going to mean that the Department of Labor should sharpen its inspectorate. We should be able to ensure that there is full implementation of the national minimum wage.